All right, this is Wayne Yang, and he did a demo and workshop last year, so he is back by popular request.
Yay, thank you.
And he's a Portland area artist, and he's shown in art galleries all over the U.S. And he specializes in teaching acrylic, and he does in-person and online classes, 3 decades of experience, and 16 years teaching the medium of acrylic. And he has a deep interest in art history, which he also gave us a tour of the Portland Art Museum last year, and we want him to give us another tour soon. Anyway, so he talks a lot about art history, and he knows everything about color, which you're going to learn about today.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. So, as Charles mentioned, that I especially teaching acrylic. The other thing that I especially teaching is color. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about some ways for you to help you guys think about color, and give you some quick tips, that you can do now to improve your color in your art. So it doesn't matter if it's watercolor, pastel, oil, acrylic, color pencil, you can use the same idea in this. The painting that I'll be showing will be, my paintings that will be all acrylics. And then I have some samples here. And I'll talk about a little bit about the class I'm gonna have you guys in April on color. So again, my name's Wayne, this is my studio and my very anxious cat. This is one of her pictures. Like I said, I've been painting all my life. This is me, a year skinnier and more hair. So very proud of this big watercolor I did between the high school and college. Of course, looking back now, I'm pretty frightened by the colors I was using. That's a whole other story. Huh? Well, comparative. Anyway, one thing that really helped me learn to paint is go to museums and look at. So for those who lived through the 90s, you know the band, you know what decades this is. Again, skinnier and more hair. So one thing that I love doing is going at looking at old master paintings, and particularly looking at their techniques, brushstrokes, layering, color and composition, brushstrokes, so on and so forth. And it's through that I developed my painting style in acrylic. Here's a self-portrait of me playing with Maria. Also do a lot of flower painting. This is one I did 2 years ago. This is Western Azalea, those 2 gardens. I do a series of restaurant paintings, especially Asian restaurants with lots of condiments. So use kind of the painting texture and the layering of the old master, like the Dutch masters, but using it in a more contemporary subject matter. Do a series of interior paintings like these. You can see the old master influence in this kind of a dramatic chiaroscuro lighting. Also, I do these. Of course, in the Northwest, you have to paint forests, right? And of course, you're obligated to paint on wood. This is Snowstorm in 2016. I say, it's, the number one question people ask me is, do you paint outside? Do you do plein air? And I say no. And you can see why I don't paint outside my skills, right? So to give you a process, even in plein air painting, you can see when you go see people's plein air painting, right? You see what they're looking at and see their painting, the colors nothing alike. So same case with here as well. Here's the reference on the left, here's the painting on the right. You can see that the colors are changed quite a bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about how to improve your colors in your art. And and then I'm gonna do 2 quick demos. I'm gonna do how to mix a range of greens, and I'm gonna do a real quick demos how to do color studies. And a color study is, there's some sample here, is very small color sketch of painting before you jump into the big painting. A lot of you struggle with color. It's much harder to make decision on color when you work on a big painting, right? Because you don't know what's gonna happen. If I change this, then it will happen, right? But if you do it on this little sketch, it's easier to figure that out. So, so we're gonna do a little bit of that. Okay, so instead of like, so what I decided to do, I did this presentation before, but this time what I'm doing is I'm breaking them to levels. So I'm gonna talk about, so in level 1, obviously one of the easiest thing you can do, and then the other level kind of builds on top of the one before that. Right? So I'm gonna go to a lot of concepts here. So I know it's recorded, but also it would be good for you to take notes if you have a pencil because I will go to some simple stuff that you can use quite a bit. Everybody's done taking pictures? Yes?
Thank you.
Okay, all right, give me a second.
Is it possible to get a copy?
Somebody's recording it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so level 1 you can do now is create variation of your main color. So think of your main color. So in this case, I have this camellia here. The main color here is obviously red, right? You can see I have reds in different saturation levels. All right. So think of your main color is like if you open a diner restaurant. You don't only serve scrambled eggs, right? You serve easy over, sunny side up, right? So the red in this case, the egg. You want to make different variations of it, right? Because if you only serve scrambled egg, you're not gonna have that many customers, right? Unless, well, maybe you have one person that just want to eat scrambled egg, but so in this case, so in general, you want to put the most saturated of that color, your main color, in the focal point area, and not too much everywhere else. And it gets, see how in the petals in the front, the red is the most saturated. As the red goes to the background, the petal in the back, the color gets more and more muted, right? So it's the focal point, right? Just like when I'm talking, when I'm saying something important, I'm talking a little bit louder, but when I'm doing something in transition, I'm doing small talk, I talk a little softer. Same idea with color, right? So this is one thing that I see quite often people do is they have the same saturation of their main color in their focal point and a non-focal point, so there's nowhere for my eyes to rest. That make sense?
Yeah.
Right. You can start doing that right now. So, also you should. So in this case, the main color here is kind of like this bluish purple, right? So if you look at where I have these color, I have my blues slightly on the purple side. I have some blues slightly on the green side. Right? So using variation of that same color, right? Subtle variation of that color. Not just in muted color, exaggerated color, but also its neighboring color. So these two things will up your painting game quite a bit. Variations, right? Again, like making eggs, right? Not just scramble eggs, make a potato one day, make a, I don't know what else. Poached omelet, exactly, right? Variation makes things interesting, right? All right, so you can see in here, so here's the photo on the right, painting on the left. You can see all the different variation of greens that I have that does not exist in the photo, right? So you can see the greens, right? So it's mostly this yellow, kind of muted yellow green. But on my painting, I have some blue greens, I have some yellow green, I have some green green, I have some saturated green, I have some muted green variation, right? So if you don't remember anything, remember variation of the main color. That will. So you can see in here that I spread in the color wheel. I spread it in the photo. It's mostly concentrated in the yellow, green, and green section. Whereas in my painting, I spread it around the neighboring color, right? So, all right. So, what I'm gonna do my first demo now. Let's turn on off the lights, and then I'm going to, can somebody get me some water? I gotta put some water. Oh, it's okay, I'll just use this. Good enough. Okay, so let's turn on the lights. So I'm gonna do a quick demo on how to make screens. Okay, so let's see what's the best way for you guys to see this. I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna pop my palette up so you guys can see me mix a little bit. So, let's see here. Let me do it on this. So, green, right? Maybe because we live in the Northwest, but I don't see this screen anywhere in nature. Right? So, by the way, I have this screen. This particular bottle, I had it for about 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And it's still like, you know, like, I don't know. Yeah, 80% full. So I can tell you how much I use the green. So what I do is I mix my own greens. So so I'm just gonna show you a couple of ways I mix greens. Let's see. Can I get a chair real quick? Thank you. So what I do is I use a little bit of ultramarine. Okay. I have ultramarine. I have yellow ochre. Okay. I have, obviously by this point most of you know red, yellow and blue makes it green, right?
What?
All right. However, cat yellow. So I have cat yellow. So let's see.
What kind of cat yellow?
Cadmium yellow. Sorry.
Light, dark.
Not made by cats. Not yellow made from your cats. Okay.
Did you say you also put some red down there?
No, I did not put any red. So I got yellow ochre, cadmium red, a yellow, ultramarine blue, and phthalo blue. Phthalo blue green shade. Okay. Of course, we gotta have a little bit of white. Okay. And then maybe a little bit of burnt umber here, just a little bit. So the easiest thing to do is make saturated color, very bright color, right? Right out of the tube. What it's hard to make is more muted colors, but it's the muted color that makes things look true to life, right? So let's see. So we to make a more muted green, what you can do is you can mix, instead of mixing blue with yellow, you mix it with a muted yellow, right? So in this case is the yellow ochre. So this, you get a nice kind of olivey green, right? And with this and that, you make a slightly more saturated green. Of course, you can make it more using more blue and less yellow to make a blue-green. Right? Compare that. And then for the more saturated green, then you can mix it. You can mix it with the phthalo blue. Let me lighten it up so you guys can see how much brighter it is. Right? And then for the very muted green, so like say you're painting a fir tree in the winter, you can mix these greens and then just add a little bit of umber to it. And you get this kind of a soft, muted winter conifer tree, right? So instead of mixing a green, some of you have like 100 color in your palette, right? You don't need that. You can mix all that ranges with these color, right? Okay. Any questions before I move on?
Can she get a picture of the palette?
I did go really close.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so ultramarine blue. I like ultramarine quite a bit. It's a very classic blue. It's like blue jeans. That's kind of color. Cat yellow is also very classic. Yellow ochre. The phthalo blue is strong stuff, so use it very carefully, like a little bit. Think of I don't know if you guys ever been to a Vietnamese restaurant. I don't know if you guys had like fish sauce. Like it's strong stuff, right? If you spill it in your kitchen, it's gonna stink for a couple of days, right? So phthalo blue is like really strong. So just use a little bit. Don't overuse it. It's just like strong. All right. Okay. So
Do you care what brands of paint you use?
I use Nova Color, but if you are new to acrylic, I highly recommend Nova Color because they have really good packaging. If you're more of a watercolor person transitioning to acrylic, I would recommend the soft body. If you're an oil person transitioning to acrylic, I recommend the heavy body stuff. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the slideshow. Can you turn off the light on the right? Somebody turn off the lights over there. Okay. All right, so that's mixing green. How are we doing in time? We're doing pretty good?
Fine.
Doing great.
Okay, all right. All right, level 2. And this is paramount. Is look at colors around you, right? Painting is really 50% painting. The other 50% is observation, right? It's a little bit like if you want to be a good writer, what do you want to do besides writing?
Read.
Exactly. So the observing nature or observing other painting, analyzing it, is like the reading part and the writing part, right? Okay. So since we talk about green, it's a great idea to observe what the plant, the color of a tree over the season, right? The other thing to do is when you see us and then observe what the tree looks like in different time. It could be sunset, it could be whatever, in different time of day and different time of season. When you see a color, instead of giving its whatever fancy name that the paint chip company tells you, like I don't know, avocado green or aqua, dark aqua, whatever, right? Trying to think about where is that color in the color wheel. So what that does is tricks your brain to figure out how to mix it when you're actually doing it, right? So and also if you and then also knowing what the neighboring color is, what the complementary color is, so on and so forth. So when you come up with color combination, I can say, if I say yellow green, what's yellow green's complementary color? You say
Well, there's red.
red is purple, right? Right. What is the split complement to yellow green?
Purple.
So complementary color yellow green here, right? It's red purple and the color right next to it.
Oh, okay.
So it's red and red purple.
Red
It's,
purple,
yeah. All right. Okay. So all right, let's keep going. So and then even within a same leaf in the same tree, there's slightly different color on the color wheel, right? Like when the light is coming to the light, it's more of a yellow green. What's in its shadow is more of a blue green. When it just kind of in between, it's more of a green, right? So just slightly different, right? Kind of like what's a good metaphor? It's kind of like a good piece of bread, right? It's different texture in different locations, right? Right. So all right. So knowing what those seeing those are. So So in here, this is a painting of an early spring, right? How can you tell it's early spring? Some of the trees are still in a darker color, muted color, but you will have some grass that's yellow green, right? So the reason you want to observe something is that you can use color to recall a specific thing in your painting. Makes your painting much more specific, right? Rather than a general green, right? This is a spring grass green, this is a spring flower yellow, and so on and so forth, right? One of the things that I can tell you many of you make is when you're painting sunset, the tree color is not green, right? The green is filtered out by the reds and the browns in the sunset. So the trees in sunset are more like a brown, right? So if you don't believe me, when there's a really strong red sunset, you will not find that much pure green in it, right? Unless it's in shadow, like in the bottom area here. The reason this is kind of still green because it's farther away from the sunset, right? Closer to the sunset, the more brown the tree is because it's being filtered out, right? So just little things like that makes your painting better because you're observing nature a little bit more, right? And that makes you so what that means is that when you and you can do not just color, but with shadow, hard edges, and soft edges. So say if you go into a dentist, right, and you have 15 minutes away around, right, maybe you want to look outside the window and observe the light as part of your eye exercise, right? So you don't have to be actually painting to get better at art. You can just do this exercise on your own, right? And I do that all the time when I'm waiting around in the supermarket. I look at a certain color, I look at the candy wrapper, and say, oh, that's a muted yellow green, and I would mix it with blah, 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 blah color, right? So, anyway, efficiency right there. Okay, so, and that's how you can make these paintings with, also, this is how you can just take a photo and use your own color, right? You don't have to rely on being in person to get that exact color you need, right? All right, so here's more sunset stuff. You can see the greens are not green, they're more muted green. Okay, level number 3 is apply color wheel themes logic into your art. Most of you have that color wheel thing, right? You probably bought it, think it's gonna help you, but it's probably in your closet somewhere. There are a way to know about it, right? So your typical primary color, secondary color, tertiary color, they all have a certain identity to them or feeling to it. For example, when babies are born, they mostly see the primary color. That's why when you buy baby stuff, it's just those 4 colors, right? So there's a sense of basicness to the primary color. So when you use it, the primary color, there's a kind of utilitarian kind of feeling to it, whereas the secondary and tertiary color has especially the tertiary color, has a sense of something more fancy because it's color that are a little more specialized or, right? So you want to make something more magical or fancier, you might want to, consider tertiary color, right? And then we got the complementary color, split complementary, and analogous. The way I think of it, the complementary color is the most dramatic, right? So you want, because it's literally color opposite on the color, right? So if you want something really dramatic, you use complementary. Somewhat dramatic, split complementary. More subtle, less dramatic, use analogous, right? So that's simplifying it, but here's some general idea to think about it, right? Okay, so show you some examples how I went from the photo to the painting. Here's the painting. My gallery has a Day of the Dead show every year, so this is one of them. Photo on the right, painting on the left. So how did I arrive with the color in the painting? I select, there's a green in there, right? See the green? And I decide to use an analogous color theme. So you can see all there's blue, green, yellow, green, and yellow, right? The yellow's already there, so it's kind of just there. But I'm expanding that green to the blue side, right? So I'm doing the, by the way, if you have a theme, say analogous, it does not mean that you can only use that color in your painting, right? So we have the analogous green in here, but I also have yellow and even a little bit of purple, right? The rule is, at least that's my rule, you could use color in other themes outside the theme, but you just need to use less of them and in smaller places and less saturated. So for example, I have a little bit of purple on the skull, right? But it's much more subtle and it's used in less places, right? So the further away from your theme, the less saturated and less intense it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Very, very simple, right? It's very logical. Okay, here's another one. Obviously very strong green and red complementary color. Here's the photo. So you can see that that green feels very alone in the photo, right? It's surrounded by the red, right? So in order for it to, for the green to get, like I can't change the bottle cap color, right? Because that's the iconic red, the green bottle, right? So by making it red, I would like, that would just be sacrilege, right? So in this case, I changed the background to green to create the match, balance out the green, right?
How hot is that?
I'm sorry?
How hot is that?
It's hot. It's hot. Depending how much you put on. Okay, so again, many color variations of the main color, right? The main color is definitely red. So I have lots of reds in slightly more orange section, slightly more in the purple section. Some are muted, some are more saturated, right? And of course, the most saturated red is right on my focal point, right here, I think. So same thing with the green, but less so. I have saturated green on the cap bottle, more muted green in the background, right? So, all right. Okay. Number 3 is to explore possibility with color studies. So what a color study is a small color sketch of the composition before you start the painting. So, so basically you resolve the color before you start the painting, so the painting goes a little faster, so it's like having a little, right? Like having a, like when you build a house, right, you just don't just build it, right? You get a plan going, right? So there's a little bit of that. I learned this when I went to illustration school, when I was in college. This is one of the disciplines that they gave us, and it worked really well when I become a designer and an illustrator later out of college. Is before you do the big painting, you do the color study and you discuss it with your clients, right? Before you do the big painting, so they can be like, oh, I changed my mind, can you just make the whole thing more blue, right? No, we talk about this. Blue doesn't work because blah, 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 right? So,
I really hate that.
yeah, well, you know, live and learn. But it gave me a really good discipline on color, right?
Why are people so picky sometimes?
When they pay you money, they become picky. So that's just the way of the world. Okay, all right.
I can see that.
So you can see. So again, these color sketches are sketches, right? So they don't have a lot of details in it. It just got enough detail. So it's all about the color combination rather than all the little detail. So each one of these studies usually takes less than 20 minutes, right? So most of these are done about every 10 minutes. So in a painting like this, here's the photo, reference on the right, painting on the left, and here are the color studies. There, I have some sample that they're up there. You can see the color combination that I use for it, right? Primary, complementary, analogous, and let's see, yeah, I have 2 analogous going on there. One in the more orange section, more on the blue, on the purple section. So I was able to get 2 painting out of it, so not too bad. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is how are we doing in time? I'm gonna do a quick study. Gonna show you a couple.
1228.
Oh, thank you. All right, so let's turn on the light and do a little quick. So I got some samples of color study here. So you don't really need. So sometimes you can, if you have a color printer at home, a quick way. So in this case, I was doing a painting. This is the reference I gave, right? So I need to figure out what the background color, because I don't want to paint all that other stuff on it, right? So a quick way you can do this, just print this out on your printer and just paint on top of it,
Oh.
right? So you don't have to paint all the difficult stuff, right? So that's one like kind of quick and dirty way of doing color study. Yeah.
Great.
Photo study. Yeah. So I'll just give you a couple ideas what I was thinking in here. A lot of times you want to consolidate your color. So what you want to do is you want to pick color within the main subject matter. So in here you can see I'm using these pinks and blues because the pink and blue already exist in the dog itself, right? So instead of adding more, it's like you want, like when you're cooking, you want to add the neighboring, like flavor, right? Sweet and sour, like something slightly, you add other sour stuff in it, right? Rather than adding bitter or whatever, right? So, and this is kind of the opposite of it. I'm doing complementary color to it. So I actually end up painting this. So, sometimes less is more. Okay, so let me do this real quick. So one couple things about doing color studies. Again, they need to be done quickly. You don't worry about details. So a lot of time what I do, and the other thing is you don't want to figure out your composition while doing the color study, right? Then when you're done, it's no longer comparing apple to apple or orange to orange, right? So don't try to move something here on one study, right? Do that separately, right? So what I usually do is I figure out and this is another discipline that I learned in illustration school. Is you figure out the drawing first, and then you figure things out separately, not together, so it doesn't get too complicated, right? What they call fighting one battle at a time, right? Okay,
Is that
so
composition you do first?
I'm sorry.
You do the composition first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't try to solve two things at once, right? Yeah. There's a metaphor with therapy there, but I'm not gonna go there. Okay. So in this case, what I usually do is after I get the drawing figured out, I take a picture of the drawing and I print it out on cardstock paper and paint on top of it. Wow. So you don't have to draw everything over and over again, right? So the other thing that I usually do is when I'm doing a study. Actually, let me go over a couple of slides here that I want to show you first. So, what I usually do, let me turn on the light real quick. Sorry, I forgot about this slide here. So this is a reference that I'm using here, right? So before you do your study, the first study I always do, I just make a really quick copy of the original color, just to know what the lay of the land as far as color goes, right? And I usually think about what a color is in the color wheel. So in this case, we have a somewhat saturated blue, right? We have a very muted green. We have a very muted browns, which is like basically a very muted yellow, orange, and a very muted kind of reddish orange or red or something like that, right? So these are the color I'm going to work with: blue, reds, and orange and greens, right? Okay, so let's turn the light back on. So in this case, so I did this before. So in here you can see. So in this case, I did a quick study of the original color from the photo reference. So not to say this is what I want, but just to know what my situation is, basically, right? And then in here, I did a more saturated version of this one. So much more saturated, because blue is my main color, so I'm making my blues more saturated, right? In here, instead of the blue, I'm making the green more saturated because that's one of the main color, right? And then you can go from there. Like this again, making the green, even in this case, I'm really extending the green. I'm making the green into the sky as well, right? So expanding that green. So taking the exaggerated existing color and making variations of it, right? So, and then in here, I'm making the browns and the yellows a little more integrated with the whole thing, right? And so instead of just in here, I'm putting in the sky as well, right? And then, I mean, you can do just hundreds of these if you want. And here, I'm expanding the blue, right? So instead of just blue, I'm going to the neighboring color of the blue, right? I'm using purple as well, right? In here, I'm using the complementary color of red and green. But since green is the main color, it's more saturated in the red and the orange. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a logical way to think about this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just do one of these, and so we have blue, green, and kind of orange. So I want you guys to pick. Give me a color. One of these three colors here. Orange. Okay. So I want you guys to give me a color theme, either analogous, complementary, or split complementary. Split complementary. Okay, so quiz time. What is the split complementary color to orange? What kind of green? So orange is right.
Blue, green.
Orange is right here, right? What is? Okay, let's turn off the light so we can figure this out.
Blue, green.
So we have orange right here. The complementary color is blue, right? And then the split complementary is
Purple.
no. This is purple. What is this?
Bluish.
Blue purple, right? Blue purple, right? And then we have blue green, right? Okay. So, all right. Background. So let's deal with that. Okay. So it's obviously where we're gonna put the blue purple, right? It's the shadow of the trees right here, because that's the closest to that color, right? So I'm gonna mix my own purple here. Instead of using purple, I'm gonna put a little bit of lizard crimson in it. So in here, the other thing we need to have is the main color. So between blue purple, blue green, and orange, what is our main color? Any of these is fine. Just pick one. Green. Green. Somebody say blue green? Okay. So when you have a dominant color, everything else needs to be less saturated. So think of your dominant color is like the main singer in your band, right? So when you go to a concert, the microphone for the main singer is the loudest, right? The backup singer should not overpower your main singer, right? Same thing with color. The dominant color should be the most saturated. Okay, so let's make a blue-green that's more saturated. And since we got some green here, it's perfect. So we have.
So that's your focal point because it's the most saturated.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. You just have to stick with one, right? So in this case, I'm gonna mix my green, my phthalo to make mostly phthalo. That's gonna be my most saturated color. So let's just put it there. Ooh, nice and bright, right? Okay. Okay, so what that means is then I need to make a soft, more muted version of the blue purple. So we got the main color, the more dominant color here. So between orange and blue, purple, which one should be more of a supporting color, which is the accent? Just pick one. Orange is more strong, okay? Is that what you said saying? Okay. So so what I mean is the orange I'm gonna put here is not gonna be as saturated as my green. So let me just make a little more variation of that green here. So I'm gonna make a slightly more yellow, lighter, more yellow version of that green, right? There, maybe just make slightly more bluer version of that color. So I got my variations on my greens here, right? Okay. So let's mix the purple. So instead of using a regular purple, I'm gonna mix my own purple by mixing a lizard crimson and blue to make it a muted purple, right?
Which blue?
Ultramarine. Wait, well, no, we said the orange is more saturated. Sorry. So let's mix the orange. So how do we mix orange, you guys? Red and yellow, okay. So in this case, because I'm making a more muted orange, instead of using red, I'm gonna mix a good dose of burnt sienna, right? That's a muted red, right? So by mixing a muted red with a yellow, then my orange would be less saturated, right? Okay. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that. Okay. So let's see. A little bit of white. Also, I'm gonna just add a little bit of white. Yellow.
Is that burnt sienna?
Yeah, burnt sienna. So that's a fairly muted yellow there, right? So I'm gonna make the top the most saturated of that color. And as I go down more, I'm gonna make it a little more lighter, less saturated. Again, I have variation, maybe add a little bit of yellow, so there's some variations in that, right? And I might add even a little bit of green in my yellow to make a muted version of the red, to kind of blend the two colors together to make a muted version of that, right? Get an in-between color going. Let's see. There they are down here. Okay. Maybe add a little bit of yellow. So again, making variation of the red, right? So maybe I add a little bit of yellow to my orange to make I'm shifting from more red to slightly more yellow, so it's just a little variation of that, right? Okay, and then we have the purple. So we're gonna make a muted purple with, and since there's so much blue, so in this color study here, there's a lot of blue in here, right? In the shadow of the tree. So that's a good place to put the purple because it's closest to the color that I'm gonna be using, right? So I'm gonna mix a little bit of that. Now, so this is as saturated as it gets. To make it more muted, I'm gonna you can mix in the umber to make it a little bit more muted. So you can put it there. And then let's make a kind of in-between color by putting some blues there. And then the reds, kind of having a nice transition between the colors. And then let's mix this muted orange, which is a brown basically. And then since we have browns down here already, so let's just go with that. So mostly brown. I mix in with a little bit of orange. Okay, so that's one. So it takes about 15 minutes to. Let's do another one. Let's do one more, so you guys can get the idea. Okay, so let's pick blue as the main color at this point, right? Since we already, Give me a color theme. Complementary, analogous, or split complementary. We already picked split complementaries. Let's go. Let's do analogous. Okay. So what is analogous to blue? So I'm gonna just kind of put the blue right there. Right. So next, the warmer part versus the warmer side of blue, the more warmer side of the blue, it's purple, right? So I could add a little bit in the sky. I can start with. Do we want purple on top or purple in the bottom?
Purple on top.
Purple on top. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue in my purple. I'm gonna put a little bit on top, and then gonna go cooler in the bottom, right? So I'm gonna maybe a little more saturated than that. Let's start a little warmer, and then let's add more blue as we go in the bottom. And then on the other side of blue is blue-green, right? So we're gonna add a little bit of yellow in it. And then we can, since there's blue here, I can add a little bit of purple in my, let me turn this off real quick, so I'm not blinding my face here. Okay, so since we have, to make this more colorful, we can extend it on both sides, right? So on the green side, we can go more yellow-green, right? We can make it more yellow-green. And on the blue side, we can go a little bit more purple, right? And the ground, what should we do? We should do like a muted purple. Why don't we do like, so I'm gonna mix this purple and then mix it with, so when in doubt, kind of use existing color. Now, the green feels a little lonely here. Let's add a little bit of green elsewhere. It's pretty good. All right, so you can see. So let me turn this back on, and I'll go over a couple color studies I did, and I'll show you my thinking behind these color studies. Warming up. So anyway, so let's see. So again, these are done really quickly. So it's all about just getting the color on and see. Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. It's warming up. Just give it a chance. Okay. So there, when I'm done with the presentation, you can come and look at the. Let's see. This is so.
How do you decide which one you want?
Excellent question. That's exactly how I'm going to get into it. So there's a logic to it. Anyway, I'm going to do a workshop in April with you guys, and we're going to do a lot of these color studies. This is for any color medium that you can bring, right? I'm going to demo an acrylic. You can do watercolor, pastel, whatever. Not black and white, obviously. Okay, so So I'll get to how do I choose after this. So level 5 is use color recipe from art history, which I do a lot. So in this case, in this painting, there's a smaller version of that in here. I used the color palette from a Paul Gauguin paintings on the left. So I'm gonna go to, this is a different class that I offer on color recipe. So that's kind of the next level after the class I'm gonna offer. So you can see that's the photo on the right, painting on the left. So what I did, so I did this for a class, so I went to it very methodically. So within the, so I picked these things, I know what I want to do Gauguin, and what I did is I took the Gauguin painting and I broke it in down to main color, supporting color, and accent color, right? So main color is the color that's the more saturated, used in most places. Supporting color is less, accent color is even less, and so on and so forth. And then I put it onto the my composition, right? And then based on that, so you can see the main color here. So again, the sketch is very, very fast, right? It doesn't, so it's not about the detail of I'm painting the finger, I'm not painting the banjo. It just, just blocks the color so I can just see the color. And then based on that, I painted the the color itself on the painting. Here's the one, the snow painting you saw earlier is based on a Max Parrish painting, a snow painting that he did. That was inspired from. This old Chinese restaurant painting is based on the Rembrandt painting. Now, this is to say that I didn't totally change the color. It just because my knowledge of Rembrandt paintings, when I walk down the street at night and I saw this and it reminds me of Rembrandt painting, so I tweaked the color slightly so it looks like the Rembrandt painting, right? And it doesn't need to be a painting. You can use movies as well. So for this, this is a couple years ago when the movie was very popular. So I used the Barbie color for. So you can. It doesn't need to be painting. It could be film or whatever you inspire from. Anyway, so I do have a starting this Saturday. I do have a painting class, a color recipe to landscape painting coming up. This is online, and then I'll be doing an in-person one on color recipe in Portland, the Gail Open Gallery, formerly the Gardino Gallery. So if you are interested in doing this in person, you can do that. So to answer what's your name? To ask me a question earlier?
Marcy.
Marcy, to answer your question, I choose color to fit the narrative and emotion of my painting.
Subjective.
Yeah. So does the color that I'm choosing meet my objective? Very simple, right? Very logical as well. So, give you an example. So a case like this. So there's two color study here. You can see the one on the left that's more of a reddish background. So it enhances the red flower more, right? Because so if I have a more fondness to the red flower, I'm gonna choose the one on the left. Vice versa, if I have more fondness to the yellow flower, then I use the one on the right because it has more yellow in it, right? So see how that's a simple way to do that. So in the case of the painting of my friend's daughter Shoko, what I did is after I did the color study, I have my students name the season, an adjective, and a particular kind of music that's associated with this. Okay, so one on the left feels kind of like fall, feels passionate, feels like flamenco music. I didn't choose, my student did, all right? So you can disagree with it, but whatever. The one in the middle feels like summer, it feels playful, and it feels like bluegrass and rock and roll. And then the one in right feels like spring, and the adjective they gave me was, and the music is like pop bubblegum music. So, as much as Uncle Wayne loved Shoko to enjoy bluegrass or flamenco music, she probably listened to bubblegum pop music by Katy Perry, right? So, that's why I chose the one on the right, because it fits the narrative of the subject matter. that make sense?
Yeah.
So the painting's not about you, it's about the subject matter. That makes it like what's best for your child, right?
Yeah.
So that makes it easy for you to choose the color, rather than, oh, I like this, or I don't like this. Does this serve the subject matter? That, very straightforward, right? That makes your, like, if the main thing in your life is your daughter, then it's easy for you to make decision, right? Instead of going to Cancun, you're going to Disneyland. Or like, yeah.
Do you ever just use what's right there and just stick with that?
Yeah, if it feels right, but if something's doesn't work, then I go to the color study. So I don't do color study for every single painting. It's when I'm not sure, and also, again, it's like cooking, there's certain recipe that you use, it works for certain things, like, deviled egg is great for Sunday morning brunch. I don't know, whatever. So you already got the recipe and it's use that first. So there's certain color palette like this. Like I love this color palette, and it's that kind of old world kind of feel to it. So I know it works for a Chinese restaurant at night. So next time I do a Chinese restaurant at night, I probably would use it or the starting point, because I know it works. Just like a recipe, there's certain, like maybe you have a recipe for chicken noodle soup that works when you have a cold, right? So that's for that purpose. So you use that over and over again. But when I'm not sure about something, that's when I do the color exercise. Yeah, good question. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so I'm sorry some of you seen this one before. Yeah. So this is a painting that I did for a friend of mine. That's her in the middle. Those are two grandkids, her twins. Here's the photo on the right, painting on the left. So I did a couple things that I did. So one thing I noticed in the composition is that there's a lot of circular things going on, right? The roundness of the head, the circular of the basket, the apple, even the circular motion of the stripes on both their clothing, right? And it's it's like a granddaughter and grandkids, right? So there's a circle of life. You get the metaphor, right? So what I did, you see, so I intentionally took all the straight lines in the composition and make it circular. Very subtle, but it has that circular thing, right? That's called a motif in music and art. You want to repeat the motif that makes sense with the theme, right? And I did these 4 color studies, right? So, okay. So I probably couldn't make any of these one work. Why did I choose the one in the middle? No, actually, the one on the left's more true to life. So consider the subject matter.
The highlights, the focal point.
Nope.
The warm.
What season is, so compare the season, what season is on the left?
Winter.
What's one in the middle?
Summer.
Yeah, early summer, right? What's one on the right?
Don't know.
Fall or sunset, right? So this painting is about the youthfulness of these kids, giving her lots of energy. So it's about the freshness of these kids. So the season associated with these kids is it summer, fall, or spring, or late spring? Exactly. So I use spring color because it's a motion best match with the subject matter. That make sense? Mm-hmm. Right? So easy choice, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Like Disney versus Cancun for your daughter, right? Okay, here's another painting that I did recently. Let me pop this up a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. So I did this painting around 2021. I had a show in the Chinese garden, Lansu Chinese garden, and it's right when the pandemic was kind of ending, where unfortunately I can't get rid of this thing on top. So let me go back. So I wanted, this is the room that I actually show my paintings in, so which is double fun when I did this painting. So I want to do a painting about hope coming in at kind of end of the despair, right? So photo reference on the left, painting on the right. See the difference between color? Now, why did I intentionally put less color in it, right? Most of you, when you do a painting, you put more color in it, right? In this case, I put less color to it.
Because then the lighter colors are more dominant to show the hope.
Right, so when I was doing this painting, I was thinking two things. One of my favorite painter, Danish painter, Wilhelm Hammershøi, and this particular scene in Schindler's List. Remember this scene? Remember what this scene comes from? This is the scene where they were a big. Arthur Schindler took many of the people in the concentration camp to his factory, right? So they're no longer gonna get killed. And this is the scene where they're safe in the factory, and they're spending their first Hanukkah in the factory. And what is that? And as you remember, the movie's mostly in black and white. What is that little color in the flame next to all the black and white represents? Thank you. So that's why I put so much gray in the painting, which is a little bit exaggerated color by the chair and the window. I was thinking about the symbolism of saturated color with next to all the gray as a symbol of hope, right? So that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So again, color matches the objective, right? And this is also where you can use color themes in not just in movies. I'm not just in painting, but in movie, and use it for your painting as well, right? Okay. So again, so you can see also I really want to focus on the light, so I eliminate lots of detail on the window shadow there. So the focus is on the light itself, right? So I took out stuff, so that there's more the light, the hope, that sense of strong light coming from. Also, I want a contrast between clarity and ambiguity. So the sharpness of the shadow and the light versus all the ambiguity in the soft on the shadows in the front that create that sense of contrast, that create that sensation there. And there's the painting. Okay, so again, I'm getting this soon. I'm gonna answer your questions. I'm gonna have a color workshop here in April. The other thing that I teach is acrylic, and I'm doing a flower painting workshop in classical realism. So basically layering an acrylic, that's coming up in the Galvin Gallery. So if you go to all these things, the only workshop that's not on my website is the one I'm doing here. Everything else is on my website. That's only for you guys, so you know.
And that's the 11th and 12th.
Let's see, where is it? Yeah, 10 and 11. That's a Friday and a Saturday, because we can't use this place on Sunday, right?
Do we know when the flower one is? Oh, 2/28.
End of February. So all these are on my website, except for the one we're doing here. I'll be doing an online workshop on sunsets, seascapes, coming up in, and then I'll be doing a spring landscape one in March. All right, so thank you for attending. So I am happy to answer questions. Questions? Yes.
Are your in-person and online courses all on your website?
Yeah. Yeah, except the one where I'll be doing it. Yes.
As opposed to my studio, you can see the floor is yours.
That's right. Wow, try to clean. Other questions? So, yes.
So when you decide on a color scheme for your bigger painting, how do you upscale
scale and keep track of all the colors.
Just use this something, so, okay, this is great.
You actually put them on the side, I saw.
Yeah, I can have some examples here. So it just need to be somewhat similar, like, so this is the study, this is the finished painting, that's, so it, it needs to be somewhat similar, doesn't need to be exact, yeah. Here's, here's the smaller version, the bigger painting, I gave it to my friend, so this is the study that goes with it, and then here's, here's one I did for some small ones that like went with did the small studies with that. There's a whole bunch of other ones here.
Wayne, can I ask a question
Yeah.
about that one? Do you do an underpainting of orange on the whole board?
No, it's actually brown.
Brown?
Yeah. So it depends which technique that I'm using. I use different underpaintings.
Okay.
Like this is the more master, so it has the earth tones. This one is more of a transparent layering technique, so it's similar to the workshop I taught here last year. Use the blues, lots of thin layers. So depending on
I was just thinking about how not to have something so saturated be isolated, how you deal with that, but you're mixing it in the other paints, I guess, the orange.
yeah, don't use too much saturated color. Yeah. So the other thing, like, if you don't want to, so like if you making a purple, you don't want to make the purple too saturated. You mix your purple rather than using a straight purple. So just like what I did, I used ultramarine blue and Alyssa crimson to make a muddy purple rather than using purple, right? Yeah.
What kind of wood panel is that?
I use these are called MDF boards. These are basically fiber boards you can get in the hardware store. I get a big sheet of 8 by 4 feet and then I cut them into whatever size I want, basically. So they work really well for my technique. Yeah, and there's more stackable, which is nice. Okay, so you feel free to any other questions? Yes.
Do you ever use black and yellow?
Not usually.
Black and yellow?
Sometimes I might use black, like I'm doing like a really dark painting,
Black
but
and
usually I
yellow.
mix my own
Black and
black.
yellow to make green.
Yeah, very muted green. Yeah. So I bought some of my. So sometimes I would do them on, so I can sell these, right? But usually I do them on paper, so just sketch out. So this. Oh, here we go. Here's the some of the study for this one. This is a smaller study. I did a painting that's 24 by 24 inch of that one as a commission. So I have to figure out the color on that one. It makes you, it's like acting, when you're in a character, right? You don't play yourself every time. Well, some people do, but yeah. Right. You're not drawing a symbol of it, you're drawing a specific thing. Yeah. Totally. You're welcome.